Mr. Allen, to you first. The former Joint Chiefs of Staff, C.Q. Brown. This man spent 4 decades in the military. He's a fighter pilot with thousands of hours of flight time. He's an instructor. This man has flying in combat, I think something like 300 hours. What should we make of his firing and the tonight shakeups at the Pentagon? One can't say he wasn't qualified for the job.
No, he was certainly qualified for the job, Stephanie, and also in a job that's largely supposed to be apolitical. What we can make of his firing is that he was caught up in basically what President Trump describes as an effort to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the government. C.Q. Brown had spoken out during the Black Lives Matter movement about the importance of diversity and inclusion, and we've seen that in our armed forces over the years with the integration of the military before many other institutions were integrated in the United States. So what we've seen here is basically a bloodbath at the Joint Chiefs of Staff, not only C.Q. Brown, but also the Chief of Naval Operations and the Vice Chair of the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs being sacked tonight. This is something that will sort of go down in history, not only for that, but because of the person that the president has now appointed, Dan Kane, a lieutenant general who did not have any of the prerequisite jobs that typically, under law, someone is supposed to have before they become chairman of the Joint Chiefs. The president can waive that, but historically we've seen a real step up ladders so that you end up with somebody who really knows what they're doing in that job.
It's important to note that General Brown is the son of an Army colonel and Vietnam vet, a family who dedicated their lives to the U.S. military long before DEI initiatives even existed. John, we're also starting to see voters in Republican districts speak out against Elon Musk and the DOGE effort. Is that going to have an impact on Republicans? We watched that town hall down in Georgia, and though the voters were fired up, he kind of seemed snarky, like he didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, members of Congress don't care until they see their poll numbers go down, until they see their fundraising dry up, and until they start to believe that voters who voted for them were affected. So even in red districts, you'll have Democratic voters, and sometimes they will come to town halls. But what I've heard from folks on Capitol Hill working in Republican offices is that their phones have been ablaze. People do not like this ready, fire, aim approach to carving up government, to cutting government. A lot of people believe that there's waste in the federal government. A lot of people believe that it could be reorganized. But most of those people believe also that there should be an approach that isn't just get in there and break things. And part of the reason they believe that is because they like their country to be safe in terms of nuclear security, in terms of aviation security, in terms of, bless you, Stephanie, and in terms of other things that they expect from their government.
Sorry about the sneeze. Kurt, you have covered Donald Trump. You have known this man for years and years as a New York businessman, as a president, now president again. We're 1 month in. Where do you think we're headed? And is this what you expected?
It's worse than I expected. You know, with him, among other things, you have to determine how much is a lie, how much is bluster, how much is mental derangement, how much is, you know, ignorance. And you also, obviously, the bluster to he really does it ratio tends to be very high. So I'm a little surprised he is the Project 2025 agenda, which he said I know nothing about, I have nothing to do with these people, I don't know anything about it, is so manifestly what he's doing and following. So the fact that those kind of hard right ideologues that were Project 2025, who people didn't really think, or at least I didn't, and many people, maybe everyone but Jason, believed that he wasn't really going to go all the way. But clearly he's gone all the way. And I think that the Steve Bannon famous 2019 quote about flooding the zone with
and burning it all down
crap is what this is, you know, to an extreme, and has been very successful politically, media-wise, for this first month, for all the reasons you said earlier about people will get polls, people will hear from voters. We'll see how far that goes, and we'll see how many of these things actually get done between, and how much of a bulwark our judicial system, legal system is, which is, you know, pretty much until at least the midterms, all we got to hope for.
You are not surprised. We talked a lot about Project 2025 last year, and people laughed at us. I was on Bill Maher. He made fun of me. He said, that's just a Democratic talking point. But alas, here we are.
Oh, that's Bill. I will say this. It was really obvious that this is what he was going to do. And Stephanie, as somebody who spends part of my year in the D.C. metropolitan area, right, I'm around government employees all the time. I'm around the federal government. It's one of the largest employers in the region. And everybody was paying attention to this. And everybody knew how dangerous it was going to be. And it's not just what's happening with planes. It's not just farmers who are going to lose the opportunity to sell their goods to Bulgaria and stuff like that. It is small town people around the country in rural areas where the federal government is the best job you can get. That is the large negative impact. But I will say this. A lot of the people who are at these town halls and were very upset about this, I think a lot of people who voted for Trump, and I'm being as kind about this as possible, uncharacteristically kind. I think a lot of people who voted for Trump wanted to vote for him to get at other people who they didn't like, people who they thought weren't living the right way, weren't following the American dream, who were taking advantage of the system. But you forget that you're always somebody else, right? If you voted for Trump because you're like, he's going to get rid of those people, well, you know what? You're those people for somebody. And that's what's happening right now. People are finding out that as much as they may have disliked someone who they think was abusing the system in inner city Detroit, the fact that they were long-term employees of the federal government made them an enemy of people like Elon Musk. And that's what they're experiencing.
All right. Well